Welcome everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Facebook Live today. My name is Amanda Heilman, and I'm an agronomist on the Lower Eastern Shore. I work in Maryland and Delaware. With me today are two women farmers. I have Linda Burrier to my right, and I have Paula Linthicum to my left. We're in Laytonsville, Maryland on Paula Linthicum's farm called Seneca Air Farm. Paula, could you tell us a little bit more about your farm?
Yeah, we're here in Laytonsville. We're about 35 miles north of DC. And on our farm, my husband is the fourth generation farmer. And we work every day with my father-in-law, who's 92 years old, who will proudly tell you that when he began farming, it was with horse. It was by horses and plows. And he's seen many, many decades of changes throughout agriculture in his lifetime. And we value working with him every day here on the farm.
That's awesome. And Linda, could you tell us a little bit more about your farm and what you do?
Sure. I'm farming in Frederick County, Maryland. My husband and I, we have a family farm, and we grow corn, wheat, soybeans, and make a lot of hay for the horse industry.
That's great. We have a lot of horses in Maryland. All right, so what we're going to do today is talk about 2018 spring planting on a grain farm. So while they get set up to talk to you about this equipment and how it works, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what I do for a living. I'm technically an agronomist, which I told you before, and that technically means crop consultant or crop scientist. So I work with farmers on the lower shore, like I said. Through the fall, I sell them seeds for their farm. And then through the winter, we go to meetings, educational meetings, to learn about new farming practices coming up. And then come springtime, I start getting all of my seed coming into my warehouse, and that's where I start making their orders for the farmers. So right about now, I'm delivering that seed to those farmers, and with the weather we've had, with it being a little bit cool, a little bit rainy, we're a little bit later than last year, but come time, they'll have all of their seed, they'll start planting their corn and their soybeans, and then throughout the summer, I will be walking their fields with them and kind of watching their crops as they grow, helping them out. If there's insect pressure, if there's disease pressure, I tell them what's going on in their fields and how they can take care of it. Then come harvest time in the fall, I ride with those farmers in their combines, and we look at the crop and how it did that year. So we see if the seeds that they bought the previous year are going to be the seeds they want to buy again for the next year. So let's throw it back to Paula now that she's on top of this planter.
Alrighty, thanks Amanda. So as I said, you know, our family's been in agriculture a long time. In fact, the family started farming in Montgomery County here in 1826. And through the years, we've done many things in farming, raising vegetables, and we milked dairy cattle for over 50 years, and we currently grain farm. And what that means is that we grow corn, wheat, and soybeans on our farm. We make hay, and we also build all this straw that's behind us. And so I'm proud to work every day with my husband and my father-in-law and our two kids. One's married and one's, teaches agriculture in Kansas, and we have one going to Oklahoma State University who's majoring in animal science. And so, you know, we just love our agricultural heritage and growing food for America. And so we're starting right now, we're starting to our planting season. And I'm up on top of the corn planter, and this is where it all starts. Tom selects many varieties of corn based on our soil type and the conditions in which we're growing. Climate has a lot to do with the seed selection that we choose when we grow our corn. And the first thing we do is we get those bags of corn, and we're going to pour them right here into this seed container. And we put something called talc in there that makes it so that the seeds will actually flow very smooth throughout the machine. And so this corn planter, as you can tell, it's a pretty big machine, has a lot of moving parts, and it is so important that all of the parts work together so that, as Linda will tell you, how it all works and the seed gets planted in the ground.
Sure, thank you, Paula. So I'm here at the seed meter, and the seed will come down through the tubes from the seed boxes and come through the meter. And this is a seed plate where each of the seeds will fall into the hole, and the seed will drop into the ground at a specific distance and at approximately 2-inch depth. And right behind the seed, as it drops in, the fertilizer will go in right behind the seed, and then there'll be a closing wheel, closes it right up. And this is a no-till corn planter, a 12-row. And so we all use no-till corn planters for less disturbance of the ground, and this is this is one of our ways that we have conservation, and we really enjoy the soil conservation that we do.
So we're going to start having them go to the front with the tractor, and they're going to talk to you about the tractor in a minute. But I kind of wanted to take some time to talk to you guys about what we did this morning. So this morning, 4 of us farm spokeswomen talked to multiple media outlets across the country about sustainable agriculture and what we do here in Maryland on our farms. So sustainable agriculture is preventing and preserving those natural resources like soil, air, and water on our farms and protecting them for generations to come. I do not have children, but Paula and Linda do, and I know that they want to preserve these farms for their children and their grandchildren. So that is a big part of taking care of the land. Another thing we talked about was ways that we can be more sustainable with our practices on our farms. One thing we do is in the Chesapeake Bay region, we plant cover crops. In the winter, in the fall, we plant wheat, rye, barley, and some other crops, and that basically provides a cover over the ground during the harsh conditions of winter, during snow, during rain, and that way our soil is not eroded when we have those harsh winter events. Come spring, we will either kill or harvest those cover crops, but the roots of those cover crops keeps the soil tight and it keeps it in place and keeps our organic matter getting built up. Another thing we talked about, being in the Chesapeake Bay region, most farmers in Maryland are required to write a nutrient management plan. So these nutrient management plans require that we have to take soil tests. The soil tests basically let us know what is in our soil and whether our soil is lacking any types of nutrients, micronutrients, main nutrients, and what the pH of our soil is. So by knowing this, we know what we need to put on our soils. And through this plan, we have limits of, depending what crop we're planting, how much nutrients we can put on the soil. So we are constantly gauging what we are putting on the soil, and we're only putting on as much as we need. We would never over apply nutrients to our soil. And by doing this, we are protecting the Chesapeake Bay every day. So we're going to throw it back to Paula and Linda up front.
Thanks, Amanda. You know, when we're talking about sustainable farming practices, we want to, in agriculture, have practices that support the environment, because taking care of the soil is so very important. Soil is our most important asset on the farm. Soil is the foundation for good plant growth. When we have healthy soil, we have healthy plants. Just like, you might have healthy plants in your garden. And so when you're talking about sustainable farming, you're talking about sustainable farming practices. And technology is very, very key to what we do every day on the farm. We use drones to track what's happening in our fields, how the plants are growing. Our tractors, just like this, use GPS. The mapping abilities, the ability for us to track data in a field. When we're planting corn, we have a monitor inside the tractor that tells us how many seeds per acre we're planting. It tracks the data by field, which is very, very helpful for us in our choices in what type of seeds to plant and how we're going to, go out throughout the growing season planting our crops. And so now Linda is going to share a little bit with you about our tractor here.
So this tractor is on tracks, which the belt rolls around where wheels would have been, and the tracks help the tractor to float over the soil, which keeps it from compacting so much on the ground, which adds to our conservation and helps us to be no-till farmers, which is a great thing. Amanda?
Thank you, guys. So another thing we wanted to touch on was that we're not just being sustainable on our farms. Corn is also sustainable in your everyday life. We have corn products in plastic grocery bags in the store. We have corn that is used in Legos, the rubber soles of your shoes, and we even have corn that is made into ethanol to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So corn is a great product. It is non-toxic, it's renewable, and it's biodegradable. So we wanted to thank you guys today for being here with us, and we wanted to take some audience questions. Does anyone have any?
We have one. It's, what's the greatest challenge farmers face?
I think one of the greatest challenges we face today and every day on the farm is the weather. Right now, here it is mid-April. We would love to be out planting our corn today, but it's raining and it's cold and our soil is not quite 50 degrees. 50 degrees is the optimal temperature to begin planting corn or soybeans. The soil has to be warm enough so that the seeds will sprout to have a healthy plant.
Another challenge for farmers is communication to the consumers and everyone out there in Facebook land. So that's why we decided to get on here for Earth Day celebrations and tell you all about farming.
So if you'd like some more resources on learning about farming and learning about what we do here on the farm and seeing some local farmer profiles, we also have websites that you can visit, findourcommonground.com.
And dialogues.com.
Yep.
And mymarylandfarmers.com.
Another question, are there things that farmers do to help the environment that homeowners could also do? Do you have tips for homeowners?
Sure, homeowners can read the labels on their application of fertilizer and weed control in their lawns, because anything extra will wash off and it goes to the storm drains and then later on out into the bay. And we're doing everything we can to protect our water sources.
And you know, Linda, they can also tap in and capture their rainwater so that they can use that rainwater to water their gardens, because inevitably we'll go through a drought period every summer where water supply is actually very low. And so if you have water from previous rains that you've captured and you can water your garden, you'll be a very happy person having your garden is flourishing in probably some of the hottest periods of summer.
Well, thank you guys.
Are soil tests available for homeowners too?
Yes, anyone can take a soil test. There are various labs around the country. The closest one that I know of is a lab in Delaware that is not far. Sometimes the universities do them for free still, so you would just have to check in with your local extension agent and see if you could get those soil tests done. But that's a great idea when you're applying nutrients to your lawn and your garden.
Absolutely.
Farming in Maryland by the Chesapeake Bay, what's some of the best practices you do to protect the water?
Well, one of the practices we do here on our farm is we plant cover crops. And so what we do is we plant rye and wheat in the fall after we harvest our corn and soybeans. And so what we're doing there is we're planting a seed that begins to grow. It establishes roots. So by the time it gets cold in the winter, that root growth is established, and we get very heavy rains in the winter and spring. The root growth enables the soil to not be eroded, and so that helps the water quality, and that's very, very important being here in the Chesapeake Bay region.
And farmers also follow a nutrient management plan that we get audited for to make sure that we are following the plan to protect our land, soil, and water.
Are there any other questions?
Can you repeat where the people should go if they have questions?
Yes.
Sure.
If you have any questions, you can look up findourcommonground.com
Or fooddialogues.com.
Or
We-
mymarylandfarmers.com.
and we are all featured on findourcommonground.com, so be sure to check in and read our profiles.